Hi folks, Luna here with ForFlow. How you doing? Today is Monday, so I thought I would try and get a Monday musing out to y'all. I have made some notes, so I will be referencing that because hours and hours of rehearsing so that I don't have to review notes is just not really my style for sitting at home doing a little Monday musing. But today, I'm going to talk about toxic positivity. It's been part of my reality for a while. I've been looking at a series, I guess, by Dr. Gertrude somebody or other, whose name I can't recall, um, around spending time in the darkness. You know, this time of year, the shorter days, longer nights, more darkness around us. I've been looking at stuff like that. And one of the things that came up in her series was the idea of toxic positivity and how that might play into spending time in the darkness. And she shared a video from the Happiness Lab that further provoked my musings. And then it's come up a couple of times in other things. It seems to show up in many things. You know how that is when something is on your mind. It shows up in many places. So anyway, toxic positivity. Today is that's what we're talking about today. So here's what I believe to be true. You know, before I jump into that, here's what I believe to be true. What we think, the thoughts that we think, and therefore the emotions that we experience are a choice. I believe that to be true. And if we want to feel more relaxed, if we want to feel more peaceful, if we want to feel more joyful, if we want to feel more playful, then we have to choose thoughts that provoke those feeling experiences. And it really is that simple. You know, I mean, the concept is really that simple. We get to choose what we think, and our emotions are provoked by the thoughts that we think. What makes it complicated is all the layers of habit and programming that have been part of our lives. And whether you like it or not, we have all been very programmed to behave in certain ways, depending on our background, where we grew up, culture, religion, ethnicity, the geography that we live on. There a different program comes with every space and time and reality. And some of it is very useful. Like I've mentioned before, if you live in cold places, warm clothes in that program, that's pretty useful information. And some of it is just old data and information. So we get to choose the thoughts that we think. We get to choose the beliefs that we hang on to. We get to choose our own values as we age. You know, I mean, when we're young, under the age of 10 for sure, we don't have a lot of choice. You kind of got to go along with what the big people are saying and doing and whatnot. But, you know, as adults, we get to choose what we want to think. And what we think provokes the emotions that we feel. So choosing a positive attitude, choosing positive thoughts in and of itself is not toxic, right? Louise Hay built an entire empire off of positive affirmations and choosing your positive thoughts. So choosing to think positively in and of itself is not toxic. And there's a lot of data out there now to support that. People like Dr. Tara Swart, Dr. Gabor Mate, Brene Brown, Nicole LePera, Joe Dispenza, and everyone on Gaia. All of these folks have data and tons of research that supports that if we spend time with reprogramming the thoughts that we choose to think, we can have different emotional experiences and different experiences in the external world. There's a great deal of science to back this up. It's no longer just woo-woo or wishful thinking, choosing positive attitudes or thoughts. But the thing is, it's a process, right? There's a process to it. To reprogram your brain from all the programming that we've received thus far, all the habitual behavior and thoughts and reactions and emotions that show up with us every day and drive the bus, It's a process, a practice. It takes devotion and attention and intention to shift that, right? So when does choosing positive attitudes become harmful to self or other? Well, the simple answer is when it denies human emotion, right? That's where it becomes toxic, when it denies human emotion. Anything that insists that we have no emotion other than the positive ones is toxic because it's unachievable. We have negative emotions for a reason. And I use the quotey fingers and the cheeky face because emotions are just messengers. They aren't positive or negative. Like Master Oogway in Kung Fu Panda, there is no good or bad. There just is news. And sorry, now I'm kind of lost in a movie. We need all of our emotions. We need them. We need them. They're messengers. Every emotion that shows up, whether it's frustration, fear, anger, disdain, resentment, or happy, intrigued, curiosity, excitement, anticipation, any of the emotions that show up are important. They carry a message. They offer us an opportunity to take action in our own lives. If it's curiosity, then the opportunity is to learn something new. If it's fear, then the opportunity is to, hey, decide whether I need to be here or not, whether I need to take action on that or not, or how I need to take action. All of our emotions are for a reason. They're just messengers that provide us with an opportunity. So to deem some of them positive and some of them negative is unfair and kind of ridiculous. And to then categorize anything deemed negative as inappropriate and unwelcome is toxic. That's where the toxicity comes in. And I mean toxic like poisonous. It will poison you. It poisons our society. It poisons relationships. It poisons everything to deny any aspect of our emotional experiences. And because just, if a negative emotion arises in you in whatever situation and you ignore it or dismiss it or bury it or don't even recognize it because we're so well programmed to disregard anything that's deemed negative, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It's still there. That emotion is still there. It's still living in your body, and it will stay there waiting to be acknowledged forever or until it is acknowledged. And that's what makes it toxic in our body. Anything and emotion, emotion, energy in motion. You'll probably hear me say this a lot if you spend any time listening to any of the yapping that I do. Energy in motion, it's meant to move. So if we don't allow it to show up, deliver its message, and roll on its merry way, it will stay. And any emotion that stays, that gets stuck, that is held in place, caged, trapped, suppressed, whatever, however you want to phrase it, whatever you want to call it, anything that stays unexpressed, unacknowledged, becomes toxic in our body. Whether it is the worried tummy or ulcers that turn into ulcers after whatever, whether it's the stress that shows up in your heart, whether it's colitis, whether it's autoimmune disorders, whether it's losing your hair, whether it's insomnia, unacknowledged emotion will show up because that's its purpose, to show up and deliver a message. And until its message is delivered, it will keep knocking at the door, knock, 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 in one way or another. So it will show up physically as a symptom in your body, or it will show up externally in your presence and attitude and the way that you relate in the world. So, extra judgmental, harsh, rigid, perfectionist, just never satisfied with anything. It will show up one way or another. That's where it becomes toxic. It will poison our relationships if we're always nitpicking because things are never right? Or it will actually make your body sick to the point that you are limited in the things that you want to do or have to do, And it becomes toxic on a broader scale externally, when in the way that we have become incapable of having any tolerance or holding any space for other people's negative emotion, right? People are so uncomfortable with demonstrations of emotion that it's just not allowed anymore, right? Signs like there is zero tolerance for violence here. That's not about violence. It's not even about the threat of violence. It's about the threat that somebody might express an emotion that I'm so uncomfortable with that I'm afraid of it. Now, I'm not I'm not supporting or condoning or promoting violence in any way, but I am saying that me being really sad at a diagnosis I've just received at the doctor's office and crying publicly as I have to stand and make my next appointment or get blood taken is not a threat to you. It's not a threat to anyone, but I have to be asked to leave until I get control of myself because my behavior, my demonstration of emotion is threatening to us now in society. We've become so detached from negative emotions that they're just not allowed. And that is toxic on a social scale, on our grand humanity scale, because, well, we're just becoming more and more robotic, aren't we? One foot in front of the other, head down, do as you're told, think what you're told to think, don't feel or express any emotion at all because it's dangerous to do so in one way or another. The toxicity is that it's erasing the humanity from humanity. Without our emotions, we're just animals. Actually, probably worse. I think the robot metaphor is more accurate because animals, you watch monkeys, they absolutely will demonstrate when they're cheesed off about something or when they're sad. You can see it in the animal populations. When the herd of elephants gather around their dead, you can see their grief. They're allowed to express that. They celebrate, they join in and do that together. And our expression of negative emotions is segregated to the funeral home or just inside the closed doors with your closest peeps, if it's accepted at all. If you don't have peeps who will accept that, then where do you express that? Your grief, your rage, your indignance. That's where it becomes toxic. So it is not toxic positivity to just send love and light to somebody if you are following through with a practice and a dedicated process, right? It is not toxic positivity to choose positive attitudes while still acknowledging suffering, grief, loss, anger. The toxic is denying the negative emotion underneath it or behind it, or that provoked the choice of choosing positive instead of negative. And I'm going to keep using the quotey fingers for the negative. It's toxic when we do not allow ourselves the full experience of our emotions. There is a full spectrum of emotions, and we have them all for a reason. It gives us the nuance. So much more to life than good or bad, right? There's so much more to life than positive or negative. There's a whole expression in between, right? I am in a good mood. I am in a bad mood. I'm feeling auspicious today. I am feeling disgruntled today. There's many, many, many words for all the different emotions that we have for a reason, because we don't just live in the realm of good or bad. That's not what the human experience is about. So, there's my opinion on it. It is not toxic positivity to choose to focus on and practice retraining our brain to live in a more positive realm. It is toxic positivity to flippantly say, send them love and light, give them a crystal, and not feel anything behind it. So think Gandhi or Mother Teresa, right? They had no affluence to give people and change their lives physically. What they had was presence and love that they shared freely without expectation of reciprocity in any way. They just were present and loved people in their struggle, loved people in their suffering, loved people in their sickness, loved people in their brokenness. They just loved people. They loved the situation, whatever the situation was in the moment. They just loved it and accepted it as it was and held presence and space and love for that in the moment. And it changed lives. It didn't build houses. It didn't, whatever, but it changed lives. It did improve people's lives significantly on many levels. And we remember their names today, Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa, not because they were in the greatest film of their day or they wrote a great song or a great poem, but because they loved. The love that they held in the moment for everything that is now deemed negative, sickness, aberrance, addiction, pestilence, war, all of the things that we deem negative and don't want to look at. And that's what generates some of the toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. They sat present with it in love, just with love. They didn't ask anything of it. They didn't ask it to change, just present with it in love. So it is not toxic positivity to choose that in the moment. It is toxic positivity to deny negative experiences, negative emotions, and try to just slap a smiling face over it. That's the toxic part. Whether it's externally and you're dismissing other people's experiences and slapping a smiley face on it, get over yourself, smile and be happy. Or whether it's internally and not acknowledging your own angst, suffering, struggle, whatever. That's where it becomes toxic. That's my 2 cents on it. And you know what? All of these people have their own, 4-step, 12-step program around it, right? But that's the thing. It works if you work it. Now that is definitely an AA reference. The program works if you work it. And it doesn't matter whose program you're working, right? Jamie Kern-Lima in her book Worthy has the 4 R's on how to reframe the way that you think and interact with the world so that you can have a different emotional experience and attract different experiences from the world. Dr. Gabor Mate has the 4 A's, I think, in his book. Dr. Tara has a different, anyway, they all have their own program. And from the happiness lab thing that I watched, she was speaking to, what was that woman's name? I have lost my note. There it is. She was speaking to Gabrielle Oettingen. Forgive me if I butchered that last name. And this Gabrielle has wrote a book called Rethinking Positive Thinking, and her acronym is WOOP. 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 And the acronym stands for wish. What is it that you wish? What's your desire? What you're trying to manifest? What's the positive that you want to focus on? What's the outcome? What's the ultimate outcome from that wish or desire? What is the obstacle within you is the caveat to that, because, I don't have the money is easy to blame on. But what's the obstacle within you? And what's the plan? What's the plan to get around it? What's the plan in taking action for the things that you can have effect over, right? So the big deal there is the program works if you work it. And in figuring out the obstacles in anything, we must look at that internal obstacle list. So if you want a new job, but you are unwilling to work nights and you're unwilling to work anything outside of school hours because your kids are in school, if you're unwilling to work more than 35 hours a week, if you're unwilling to whatever, that sort of limits your job pool. It doesn't mean it's not achievable, but the obstacles are in you. You could say, oh, the job I need is not available. We must identify our obstacles, the internal ones, in order to create a plan to address the obstacles to get to the goal, to get to the desired outcomes. And sometimes when we look internally, we see things we don't want to see. Like, I want this. I want the world to look this way, my world to look this way. but I want it handed to me. I don't want to do the work to get there, which means I don't want to take accountability in my life and I don't want to take responsibility for my outcomes. And that's uncomfortable to say, but if it's the truth, we need to know that, because you can't plan around it if you don't know it. You can't create a plan with information you don't have, right? Like, oh, hey, come pick me up at the airport next week. Okay, what day and time? I don't know. I can't create a plan around that, right? So if I'm trying to plan my next job or plan my next relationship or plan my whatever my desired outcome is, and I'm not willing to look at what obstacles I am creating from within myself, limited thinking, immobility, inflexibility, the refusal just to take action in my own life. What if I'm not willing to look at that? Then I can't create a plan to address it. So toxic positivity is only toxic when it completely dismisses negative emotions or experiences, and it's flippant, like it's just lip service, wish them love, but you don't actually, right? Like there's the situation overseas has been on everybody's mind for a couple of years now, right? And if you can't physically go there and clean up the mess from the war, if you can't physically go there and build shelters for people to come to, if you can't physically go there and make sure that there's clean food, or if there's food and clean water for people and animals, if you can't physically go there and affect change and support people in their struggle, and you don't have money that you can just throw at the situation, what do? Right? It would be toxic positivity to say, wish them love and light, and just move on to the next thing and not actually do that. It's not toxic positivity to say, I wish them love and light, and actually take just 2 minutes to feel the love that you have within you expressed to all the people experiencing suffering. Because that's all that Mother Teresa or Gandhi did. They expanded the love within them and shared it with other people without expectation of reciprocity. That's not toxic positivity. And that is the only emotion that we have that is self-replenishing, right? Fear, worry, anger, indignance, anything else you might project at a situation like the war overseas depletes you and doesn't help them. Giving selflessly the love that you are made of, that you have, refills itself and can actually help other people, whether you believe it or not, whether you think that's woo-woo. Check out Joe Dispenza and everybody on Gaia. They can show you the science on how it is real. Louise Hay made an empire out of it. That's a great demonstration of how it is real. Anyway, there's my conversation today. My Monday musing on positivity and toxic positivity, which lives in the realm of spiritual bypassing. They can be two separate things, but similar idea. It works if you work it. It's not just flippant, choose joy instead of sorrow. It's a practice. The reticular activating system of your brain so far is programmed to see only negative, be only negative, live the same emotional response to stimuli over and over again. We can reprogram our brain to choose different thoughts, which evoke different emotions, which offer us different opportunities in the world. That is not toxic positivity. I wish that for you. So, blessings, folks. I hope you're having a great day. Happy season of light to you.